Ah,
Yay!
yay! All right. I'd like to introduce you all to Karen Henrich. Karen is a Smithtown native and mother who has been on the Lenard team for a little more, actually a little less than a year now, and is quickly becoming one of our top producers, which in real estate terms, that is a big deal, and is also becoming a force on Long Island. Her relatable approach, attention to detail, and speed to action make her an asset to our team, and we love what she brings to the group. Thank you for joining us today, Karen.
Wow, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I mean every word of it. So, Karen, you've been in real estate about a year. How's it going so far?
So it's actually going really well. I started back in June of 2021, and it's been an amazing journey so far. I've learned a lot. Every day I feel like I'm learning something new, which is great. And I work with a great team, a great bunch of people. So far it's been a great experience, a great transition from what I used to do.
Yeah. What did you think of, it's been less than a year, so it's probably still fresh in your mind. What did you think of the training and onboarding process?
The training was great. From the very beginning, it was all hands on, was a lot of material. I will say that it was a lot of information. So definitely you got to buckle up to try to take it all in.
Did it seem overwhelming at times?
The first month was, because it's a lot of information. So, especially if you've never been in the field of real estate, it can be a little overwhelming. So, but you just take in what you can and know that whatever information doesn't sink in at that point, that it's going to settle in, shortly thereafter. So, and it was great because anytime I had questions, there was always a ton of people that I could reach out to that could help. So,
on our team, we want to especially, whether you've had experience in real estate or not. In this case, you didn't have any experience, which we'll jump into in a minute. But, we want to be able to get people out there as quickly as possible, but also able to fulfill, their duties as an agent to deliver great service, right? Like the Lenard team, everybody knows we're about trying to provide a 5-star level of service. But at the same time, when you're new and that information, like you said, you could go into overwhelm mode, that you have the resources. And one of the things I like about you, Karen, is that you're very forthcoming with advice and feedback, because we're trying to figure out what we think you need to go out there. And you've been really helpful in coming back to us and saying, hey, I really wish I would have known this other thing. And then that gets integrated into the training for the next classes to come through, and that training gets spread to the existing agents. So we've been really appreciative of you for that, in addition to just being a great agent who's helping a lot of clients. What did you do before you were in real estate?
So I actually, believe it or not, I had my real estate license when I was 18. I didn't do too much with it back then. I probably didn't get the guidance that I needed back then when I was a lot younger. But it was something that I've always had a passion for. I ended up getting into the insurance industry, and I worked for a major insurance company for probably about 34 years.
Wow.
And I worked in the corporate office, and I really dealt with a lot of people. I met a lot of different people. I had to negotiate through various situations, high-level complaints, and so on for the officers within the company. So I dealt with a lot of situations from the very beginning to the very end. We had to take ownership of every situation and really make sure that the customer was being serviced and that their problem got resolved. So I think that really prepared me a lot.
So Karen, let me be clear on this. So you were at an insurance company, but you weren't necessarily in sales, were you?
No, I was not in sales.
You were not
However,
in sales.
we dealt with agents all the time. We dealt with the claims office all the time. We dealt with
Hmm.
underwriting all the time. So it was like a lot of moving parts in many cases to, to get the desired outcome. So it
So
really,
even
go
so
ahead.
even though, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but even though you wouldn't associate working in claims as readying somebody for a career in sales, you've on the surface,
Mhm.
in actuality, dealing with the moving parts, dealing with people, realizing that at the end of the day, it's people that are involved and
Mhm.
getting to a conclusion that's going to work.
Right.
That's that. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. That's great.
It's service. I mean, just like real estate, insurance is a service. We are providing a service. And I
Hmm.
think the skills that I've learned in providing that service, through the insurance industry, I could definitely bring those skills with me
Hmm.
here, and even I can mention like the follow-up system that we have. That was tremendous. And I brought that skill with me that I obtained through the insurance industry because we had to, like I said, we had to own whatever we were doing. So if
Right.
I didn't have follow-ups, I mean, you could
Yes.
definitely drop the ball. So,
Yeah. So in the real estate business, real estate agents are always asking, it's called the CRM, right? Customer resource manager or customer, something like that, right? But we, for short, we
mhm,
call it CRM.
mhm,
And in the industry, agents are always asking, like, what's the best CRM? What's like which one should I be using? At the end of the day, the fact that you had the skill base to use it and then actually implement what it was, that is, I'm so happy that that you brought that up, that you mentioned that you're using it, that you came from a place where it was common to use a database type service to keep
mhm,
track of all
absolutely.
the information and the people and what the situation was. So would you say that has been a big part of your success?
I think it's definitely a contributing factor that
Hmm.
flowed for me, that was like second nature for me, where maybe other people may struggle with that. Um, and it's definitely it's a helpful tool because if you utilize it, it kind of takes the guesswork out of when you should be circling back with someone. When you put out your notes, when you put out all of the information, you have the system that's designed to work
Hmm.
for you. So it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So,
Um, so if you can think back to June of last year when you joined the team and you had an imagination, like, from from what you thought real estate was or what you remember it was from your teenage years, or has your what from what you thought it was going to be, has everything gone to plan for you? Has is it gone according to plan from what you thought it was going to be?
I would say I was in for a surprise. It's actually, yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's I don't know how to say this. I think it's just the reality of it. You have an idea in your mind of what you think it's going to be, and it's usually diametrically different from that. And
Yes.
you're dealing with people, and I think you have to keep that in the center of everything. When you think about, you bring it down to basics, you're dealing with people who have needs, and just meet them on that personal level. And it just makes the whole thing just a positive, nice experience. Um,
What have you learned about real estate that needed to be corrected, and what have you learned about yourself?
um, that's a good one. What did I learn about myself? I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that. I don't know. I don't know what I learned about myself. I guess that's like a work in progress. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So then what has been the hardest thing you've had to deal with so far?
I would say probably the fact that we're in such a hot market right now. The hardest thing is the frustration that some of, my buyers have,
Hmm.
when they want to see something and it's not available and it was just listed a few days ago, that sort of thing, and also the frustration. I find it frustrating when there are people that really want to buy a home and yet they didn't enable themselves to be in a position to buy the home. They don't have everything ready. And they think that they can just go buy a home and they're.
So,
So I guess
so
my
how did,
my frustration is like with buyers that are not really serious, that are not, um, ready, I guess.
ready?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, as a consumer, sometimes, they're coming into this not knowing what they don't know. How do you how do you how do you break through your frustration to be able to help them and put your frustration aside because you are doing transactions, you're finding people and you're helping them along their journey.
Mhm.
Um, how are you doing that?
So I provide as much information as I can to educate them,
Hmm.
and you have to kind of gauge where they are in that process of how much of that information they're actually going to receive. Some of
Mm.
them that receive the information you can work with, but some of them that don't really want to receive the information and, um, you have to kind of use discernment of what to work with and what not to work with.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have a saying on the team, we can't want it more than they do, right? We
Right.
can give them the information, as you're saying, we can encourage
Right.
them to utilize that
Mhm.
information and bring them along with us.
Mhm.
Because even if, will you agree with me that even if somebody is ready to go, they're qualified to buy, they're, gung ho about it, let's go, Karen, like run into the trenches together. Even that's not enough sometimes to win the house. It still might take a couple of homes, a couple tries because
Oh,
of
yeah,
just simply the way the
absolutely.
market is, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
so making sure that they understand what what it entails, right? Because
Mhm.
it's still a great time to buy. I mean, interest rates are going to go up, prices are going to continue to go up. We don't see inventory. I mean, as much as I'd love to see more inventory come on the market, I think everybody would appreciate that. We don't see prices really going down anytime soon. We hope they'll
No.
like level off, but
Mhm.
given what we're seeing with we have a new generation that are really coming into their own as home buyers. That's the millennial generation. I mean,
That's
it's a very big generation, and there's still just there aren't a lot more homes, especially on Long Island, available. So we don't
mhm.
see it relaxing necessarily anytime soon. So it does become about educating. It does become about getting them to the people that are ready, that want it, to help them move
Mhm.
forward. Right?
Exactly. Exactly. They have to understand that it's not a balanced market, as you were saying. You
Yeah.
know, there's such a low supply of homes right now. And, you're giving them the information of what they need to win the home in this challenging market. And some of them receive it and some of them don't. So,
Yeah, maybe those people that aren't receiving it now, they need to experience it a little bit more before they're like, they come back
mhm,
to you in a month or two to be like, "Oh, Karen, I get it. I please help us." Right? Because
right,
they weren't ready
right,
yet. They're at an earlier stage in their own journey.
Exactly. And they have to learn it themselves. Some people have to learn it the hard way.
Yes, indeed, indeed. And what is the most fulfilling part of your job?
To tell people that they got an accepted offer and to see their excitement when they move into their home. I've actually visited one of my past buyers at their home, and they could not be happier. So just to see them,
Yeah,
they invited me over for coffee, and it was just so nice. They showed me around what they've done. Not that they needed to do much because the home pretty much came decorated, but even the dog, they had this little tiny dog. Their dog was very accustomed to the home already. It was just
yeah,
very organic, it was just it was a great feeling to be able to help them find that. So,
cool.
yeah.
And I love to ask everyone that I do an interview with, I love to ask them this question. What is your superpower?
My superpower,
Hmm.
I guess that would be the Lord. It's always
Okay,
the Lord. That is my superpower, my prayer and my time with the Lord.
awesome. That's what
Yeah.
gives you the strength to each day, like face the challenges and help people,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
provide the service.
Yeah, he's my peace. Absolutely. Every
Awesome,
day. Yeah.
awesome. Um, any buyer stories you'd like to share? Um, other bar, like you talked about just a moment ago, that you being able to go back to see a buyer's house, but
Mhm.
um, anything to give us an understanding of, you know like I always like to say, like, against all odds or anything like that.
Well, I guess I can go back to the same couple, this lovely couple that I helped. They initially were looking, I think, in the Smithtown area, and their initial criteria that they were looking for was a ranch with a
Hmm.
pool. And
Hmm.
they had a very specific budget, which was, probably 500-600. And it's interesting because through all the different homes that I showed them, we ended up changing. We changed the town, we changed the style of the home. We went from, a ranch to a colonial to condos. We ended up in a 4-level condo.
Mm,
So from a ranch home with no stairs to 4 levels of home, but that's really what they ended up loving. So it just,
incredible.
yeah. So I guess the moral of that story is just to have patience, because sometimes people don't even know what they want, so
Yes.
you have to kind of have patience and navigating them through the process until they figure it out, until they figure out what's really going to make them happy.
See, what I find really interesting about that story is that very often feedback that we get as real estate agents, as a community, as a whole, not on the Lenard team, but real estate agents in general, is that I was working with a real estate agent. I told them I didn't want a particular kind of house, whatever style it was, and
Mhm.
but they took me there. They took me to one anyway,
Mhm.
which is a story, which is like a common story you hear that. To suggest that an agent isn't hearing me, they're not listening to me, they're just looking for a sale.
Mhm.
You took that story and flipped it, where you were able to hear them, and not just, you probably didn't just take them from style to style, you probably discussed, here's what our options are, here's
Oh, for
where,
sure.
yeah, this is
Mhm.
where kind of where you want to be. Are you open to other places? Perhaps,
Mhm.
are you open to this? Are you open to that? You would have had to have navigated that really well in order to go from style and location to eventually what they did settle on. So that says
Mhm.
actually a lot about you.
Maybe.
I mean, one that I
Mhm.
think of, I was thinking back to one of your 5-star reviews, um, where, to paraphrase, she said that you were a light in her darkness.
Mm,
That is
yeah.
pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
I-
Well, like I said, sometimes, you come across people are people, and everyone, like I said, they have a story and there are needs in their lives, and you're meeting them at that point in their life with whatever is going on. And, sometimes people's situations are more dire than others, and you have
mm,
to understand that and, you know, have more compassion and be able to help them and make it a positive experience for them, because there's all this other drama going on in their life too. So I was
you know,
really happy to help her. Yeah.
a lot of people that come to us and say they want to be into real estate because they think it's going to be fun. I mean, there are times that it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I have fun all the time, but this is serious business, right? Not everybody you're going to be working with is going to necessarily be happy circumstances. You'd
Oh,
agree?
exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But as a career, as a chosen path, and like you said, your superpower with your relationship with your Lord,
Mhm.
um, that's you see it as a higher calling, which I think is really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I
it's
don't want to paraphrase. I
definitely,
mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds
yeah.
like that. It sounds like right. Would you agree with me, or am I
No,
off base?
no, definitely. It definitely, the Lord keeps me grounded. He keeps me at peace, and he enables me to navigate through each day. So
Hmm.
yeah, absolutely.
So, Karen, for an aspiring agent, what would you
Mhm.
want them to know about the industry?
So I would say to embrace it, with open arms, and to learn, take all the information in, take everything in, give yourself time, don't put too much pressure on yourself. I think a
Hmm.
lot of people want, I think it's human nature for people to have that immediate gratification. It's not
Hmm.
like that necessarily. I mean, maybe there are stories where that does happen, but I don't think it's commonplace. So
No.
you want to give yourself time, set yourself some realistic goals. Don't expect that, within a month that you're going to, um, sell all kinds of homes at that point. It's going to take time.
It
It's
requires
going
some
to,
patience, right? And some belief.
absolutely. Yes.
I,
Yes.
yes. Oh, that is
So,
great advice. That is
yeah.
such great advice. Um, what advice would you have then for the buyer who's maybe just entering into the market? What would you want them to know?
That it's the largest investment, that probably one of the largest investments that you'll ever make,
Yeah.
and that you're going to be owning a massively appreciating asset, and
Yes.
to not let a few $1,000 difference in your mind, because ultimately over the course of 1,000 years, I'm sorry, of 30 years,
Yeah.
it's not going to really impact you as greatly as you think, especially with the homes appreciating every year.
Yes.
So yeah, their
That's a
equity will be built in the home in no time. So
and that's a good point. And hopefully you're finding a home that you can enjoy as well, right? I mean, for like you were saying, like don't let a few $1,000s get in the way of your end goal of like this is a place at the end of the day. You're absolutely right. It's an investment, but how often do you get an opportunity to have an investment where you're also able to
right.
have a home where you're going to sleep at night and make memories and and live. So
Yeah.
there's that as well.
Mhm.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Um, hmm. When did it all like click for you, or has it been a gradual process?
It's been gradual. I would say after the first 2 or 3 months, it started to flow a little bit more.
Hmm.
Um, you know, just the whole process and how it came together. You know, I mean,
I
maybe
can,
I'm a slow learner. For me, it was 2 or 3 months. Maybe other people picked it up within, you know, a few weeks, but for me, it was two or
no,
three.
I mean, what you said before, I mean, people that aren't on the Lenard team, um, you know, they're really fortunate, especially in their first year, to do 1 or 2 transactions. Agents that have been doing it longer average about 4 transactions a year on Long Island. And
Mm.
how many, just out of curiosity, your year is in June, how many transactions have you done so far?
I've gotten 8 properties in contract. 4 of them closed. 4 of them are still
So
to be closed.
in less than a year, you have done double of what the average is for Long Island. And there are a lot of licensed. I think it's something like 40,000 plus people licensed on Long Island, actively licensed. So imagine where that puts you in terms, and that's why when I wanted to interview you so badly is because one of the things I appreciate so much about you is how humble you are, how much of like a servant leader you are. You lead, but you lead by with empathy and you care, but you get the job done at the end of the day. And balancing all those qualities is a real asset to you. So when you say, oh, I don't know, maybe people get it, you know, in the first 2 weeks or 2 months, it's not really, not, you know, yeah, okay, sometimes people do, but you should really honor what you have been able to achieve. That's what I think,
I
because
appreciate that.
good. I think, you know, it's for some people, and it goes differently. It's not your ability to learn or not learn. For some people, you know, their growth is like this. I think your growth was like this and then went like that.
Mm.
At the end of the day, you're still achieving something that is worthy of you to honor yourself for.
Mm.
So,
I never looked at it that way, but okay.
okay, good. So this is my last question. What are your goals for 2022?
Well, I would love to surpass where I've been.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would. My goal would be to at least double what I've done. I think that's a reasonable goal. Like I said, I don't really like to make my goals too unattainable because I don't want to
Hmm.
set myself up for failure. That's just my own thing.
Hmm.
Some people
Yeah.
like to soar extremely high and set these crazy, and that's fine. That's
Hmm.
fine. That's just not me. I would rather set realistic goals that can be achieved so I can feel good about what I've done, and then I can increase them as I go along. So I would like to double what I've done. That would make me happy, and I would still, you know, be an asset to other people too. You know, you don't want your own um, level of service or the quality that you're providing be compromised by taking on too much. So I'd rather go up gradually.
Couldn't agree more, Karen.
Mm.
Well, I thank you, Karen. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate the time you took to connect and share your real estate journey with us. You've made such an amazing stride in such a short amount of time, and I'm super excited to see what the future brings for you. And thank you for
I,
being a part of the Lenard team, Karen.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity and for having me.
Yes, awesome. All right, talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.